Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perilous Paths here on GDQ Hotfix. We're going to move right into the next game, which is 9 Souls, any percent restricted. I'm super excited for this one. We've got Sun Tzu and his commentary team of sherplung and Lirkz. How are the three of you doing today?
Hey, doing great. Looking forward to the run.
I'm doing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
same here.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good as well. Oh god.
Awesome.
So are we ready to get into it? Should we do quick intros? I'm Sun Tzu. I'll be running the game for you today.
Yeah, I'm Lirkz. Hello.
Yeah. I'm sherplung. I'll be commentating his run.
All right, Cutie, am I good to go into it?
Yeah.
Give us a
three. Yeah, give us a 3, 2, 1. We'll get time started, and we'll start this one up.
All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing you might notice is we're loading an existing save here. This is skipping about 7 minutes of cutscenes right at the start of the run with about 30 seconds of gameplay. So we're just gonna get right into it. We did a kind of funny glitch there, which is we jumped up when entering that cutscene trigger, which just kind of made us bonk into the wall. Saves about a second because the guy reaches us faster for the tutorial. As I'm moving around, you might notice that I'm dashing and jumping. That's going to be our fastest method of movement for this run, because every time we land on the ground, it's going to reset our dash, which is faster than just dashing and waiting for it to come back naturally. A few other things to mention. Oh, what? There's a missing enemy there. Interesting. There's normally an archer there. Wait, I killed him. Never mind. We're good. So you might notice I'm killing a few enemies as I run through this area. That's mostly just going to be for XP routing. We're not going to need to kill a ton of them, but we need just a few enemies here so that we can hit certain skills that we want before the first boss of the game. We're killing the archers because they're the fastest to kill for the amount of XP that they give. Oop. There we go, down the stairs. So we got a quick cutscene here. Probably we can explain some of the kind of core game mechanics of this. So 9 Souls, it's a Metroidvania that's based on Sekiro and Hollow Knight, so it's going to have a very parry-heavy, fast-paced combat, sort of inspired by Sekiro. And one of the core systems of this game is the parry and talisman system. So every time we parry, we're going to gain a key charge, which you're going to see in the circles next to my health bar up there. And anytime I get one of those charges, I can use it to apply a talisman. And so using talismans are good both for combat and movement, because it's sort of an extra air dash, as well as something you can attach to enemies and detonate for big damage. So we got a quick arena fight here. Hopefully I won't die. It's possible, but it shouldn't happen normally. Go. Okay, clean fight. So anything else I should be explaining here? We're going to get one more kill here while we're waiting for the elevator for some free XP. And as we get through this area, we're going to be approaching our first boss of the game. This guy is a pushover because we're expected to fight him with the amount of gear we have right now. So, as we go down this elevator, I think I'll let my commentators take over to explain some of the strats that we're going to see in this boss fight.
Alright, so you'll basically see two things throughout the fight, which is the full triple combo and then jumping to cancel it. Because if you animation cancel the final slash, which you saw previously in the earlier combats, then you can start another combo quicker, and you'll also just see well-timed talismans to go through him as he's attacking. That's about it for that.
Yeah,
and we use that throughout the run.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Dang it. So right there, there's a little slow-mo effect that happens at the end of the fight. If you jump and slash with the right timing, you actually skip that slow-mo effect, and you're able to enter the elevator a couple seconds earlier. But I didn't get the timing quite right, so we missed that. You might see that again, but only on the final boss, and none of the other bosses we'll see for the rest of this run. So keep an eye out for that in an hour. So right now, we're kind of past the tutorial section of the game. And so we're going to reach the Pavilion, which is sort of the home base for most of this run. We're going to see a ton of cutscenes right now. Something you might notice is there's no cutscene skip in this game, unfortunately. We're going to do as much as we can to not watch cutscenes, but when they're there, we just kind of have to sit through them. All right, so here is Pavilion, and we're going to get our first ability here in a second, which is going to be the Mystic Nymph. So this hallway takes forever to get through, but in a second we should be there.
Did I explain the Mystic Nymph skip?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So there is actually a way to skip fighting that first mini boss Baichang and get to where we need to go while skipping the Mystic Nymph and the upgrade we are getting pretty much directly afterwards, the Fusang Horn, which is basically like primitive fast travel. But the issue that arises with that is that going around takes way longer than just picking up the abilities does, and picking up the abilities also saves time in places that would be very problematic if we did not have those abilities. So while it is technically possible for if you're doing something like low percent, it loses significant time for this route specifically.
Yeah, and we're going to have one actual spot where we need to use the Nymph in this entire run, which was to turn on Ruyi here, who we are going to need at the very end of the run to get another ability. So even if we could get Mystic Nymph later, it's just kind of easier to get it now. Another thing worth talking about while we're here is text in this game. So there's no cutscene skip, but there is a button which we can hold to scroll through text. But it's a bit funny the way it works because there's a slow startup before the text starts going fast. So kind of per text box, it ends up being either faster to hold the button to get the fast scrolling or mash through it if it's only a few text boxes. Just one of those things that is going to save a few seconds over the course of the run, probably like 30. But just as you go through it over and over again, you learn every single text box, what's the right way, where you need to mash, where you need to hold. So here we're going to enter the Limitless Realm, which is the sort of like liminal space where we're going to talk to Lear, who is the sort of spiritual advisor to our main character here, Yi, and also this ancient historical figure. He's going to give us a lot of abilities throughout the run and tutorials on how to use them. But for now, he's going to give us the Fusang Horn item that Sherplung mentioned, which is going to be our fast travel for this run. So we also could have just exited here, left the Pavilion without grabbing this, but it's obviously going to save way more time in the long run to have this thing. So we're just going to talk to him and get it. One thing about the Fusang Horn is it's a little bit limited as a fast travel item because all it lets us do is return from any route node to the Pavilion or return from the Pavilion to the last route node we were at. We can't actually fast travel between different points on the map. So we're going to have to be kind of careful in our routing just to use that and make sure that we don't, ever need to do more than go back to the last node. There is an upgrade that you would get normally in the game that will let you fast travel more, but we won't be getting that. So,
It could require going out of our way to get like 4 bosses.
Oh yeah, it would be so long to do that.
Yeah.
So we're past the big cutscene section for the start of this run, and we're on to get our first ability, I guess if you don't count Mystic Nymph, which is going to be right through here. Before that, we're going to get a bit of an auto-scroller. There's going to be an arena that's just going to spawn a bunch of enemies while we drop down this elevator. We're going to take advantage just to get some XP since we can't do anything else here. And then coming right out of this, we're going to see our first major glitch of the run. So we're going to take out this enemy here. Yeah, these guys really aren't threatening because once again, we're expected to have this amount of gear right now. All right, and now I'm going to keep this next enemy alive. So I'm going to kite him to the left, kite him back to the right, and have him follow me out of this arena here. Follow me down. And there we go. So what just happened? I got him to hit me just as I was dropping down on the rope, and this is going to trigger a glitch called rope storage. So what that means is that the game currently thinks I'm in grabbing range of the rope, and I can just grab it. So what happened there? Whenever you grab the rope, it snaps you to the X position of the rope, kind of no matter where you are, while keeping your current elevation, which means that we can just teleport by grabbing that rope straight across solid barriers. So that wasn't actually a huge skip, basically just 10 seconds, save us going around kind of to the left, back down, and up in that room. But we're going to see some pretty major glitches and skips with that later on. So what is this? This is another another Limitless Realm section. This is the tutorial area for the ability Tai Chi Kick, which lets us kick these green orbs, and also is going to let us parry green attacks from enemies, which otherwise you wouldn't be able to parry. And so Lirkz is going to give us a little tutorial here. He wants us to parry him 3 times. So I'm going to run up to him, slash him in the back of the head here. 1, 2, and he's done. So when we slash him in the back of the head, that counts as a stealth attack, which triggers the stagger code for him. And for some reason, they programmed him to just count any stagger as working towards this tutorial, so we were able to just skip one of the tutorial uses there. And it's actually quite funny in other categories where you can get the bow. You can just fire the bow 3 times in a row and skip the entire tutorial. But we're not going to see that, sadly. So that's one ability down, and we've got one more to get in this sort of intro ability collection phase of the speedrun. You're also about to see one of the other major glitches that we use in this category. So I'm going to grab this ledge, cancel the slash with a talisman, and now I have what's called ledge storage. So ledge storage is a really versatile glitch that can do a lot of different things. Basically, the game thinks that we're still on the ledge and has some weird state things that are not cleared correctly. So our first usage is coming up right in a second. This is ledge storage float, so if you jump and parry immediately, you kind of get stuck in the falling animation and can just kind of keep going forever. It's kind of slow, so that's the only time you're going to see it. That also wasn't really a sequence break or anything, just kind of skips the platform cycle there. But it saved us a few seconds, so that's pretty cool. And that's the only time we're going to see float, so... Alright, we're coming up back into 8-man where we were, and now we're going to try to get through here and set up our first major sequence break of the run. So right hack right now. One thing I'll mention before that, before we explain that, we're also going to do a quick pit stop before that, and we're going to pick up the Tau Fruit item. So Tau Fruits are items that give us +1 skill point as soon as we pick them up, and also give us a permanent 3% damage boost, which isn't huge, but does add up and actually saves some amount of time. So it's worth it to just pick them up when they're really close by. Alright, and so yeah, I'll let my commentators explain this sequence break that's going to come up right now.
Yeah, so we are approaching the air dash skill, which normally to get the air dash skill, you need to go all the way to the right side of the map to grab the charge strikes, skill. Then you need to run all the way back over to the left to here in order to get the air dash skill, and through a whole other area that we will never actually see in this run. You need to go through there to get here, because this passage that we're going through currently is supposed to be only one way from the other side. You are not supposed to be able to go through here backwards. You can see that rope that was able to be dropped down right in front of there. So this is also showcasing a different property of rope storage, which is the fact that once we store a rope and we warp to the X position, that we can just climb that rope infinitely in either direction, because the game doesn't detect the end of a rope, so it just keeps letting us climb. And another thing about rope storage is that if you touch another rope, even the one that you just stored, you will lose rope storage, because the game, when you exit the grabbing distance of that rope, the game will realize that you are no longer in the grabbing distance of a rope, and it will turn off that flag, therefore losing you to storage. So that will become relevant. That will become relevant later. But that is.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you not calling me out on how badly that skip went, because that was a bit of a mess, but we got through.
And those flying enemies are just annoying.
Yeah, sometimes they don't cooperate. In that case, he did, but then I accidentally triggered rope storage, which made me just fly right back to the rope, which in that case was absolutely not what I wanted, and I had to redo it.
Yeah, because I'll just explain it quickly. Because rope storage activates whenever you press like a vertical button. Most controller players actually switch to keyboard for rope storage stretch just to not accidentally do what happened there.
Yeah, so
well,
we're now at our next ability here. So this is the air dash ability. Obviously, as the name implies, it lets you dash through the air. It's also going to give us a new, faster method of movement. Instead of dashing on the ground and jumping every time, we can do these small bunny hops and just dash a bit faster. And with this ability, we kind of have all we need to enter go mode for this speed run. So this might be a good point just to talk about the structure of Nine Souls. So Nine Souls is actually a pretty linear game. Normally, you would be expected to collect 8 soul seals before reaching the final boss, and each of those, or almost each of those, would be guarded by a boss of their own. And so the normal structure of this game would be you can enter 3 areas at the start and do those bosses in any order, at which point the 4th soul would awaken. There's a sequence where he traps you in prison. You have to escape. You go to his area, fight him, get his seal. Then the 5th soul awakens. There's a huge, long platforming section. You would fight that boss and then get the double jump ability. But all of that is just to get the double jump ability. And so if we don't need it, we just won't do any of that. And so that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So we're going to be heading to the right here, which is normally the second area you would fight, or the second area of the game where you would fight the 2nd soul. And at the very start of this area, there's a place called the Sky Tower. And so the Sky Tower is normally somewhere that you would reach, and you'd find a suspiciously high ledge at the top and just be completely unable to progress. And you're going to see that with our current movement and some glitches, we're going to have no trouble getting through there. So this is coming up right here. I'm going to set up a ledge storage, / cancel it, and there. So whenever you have ledge storage, you can just / press up and just climb a ledge in midair. And that's going to give us just a bit of extra height, which is going to get us past some double jump requirements. The bad news is, from now on, everywhere we go is going to assume that we have double jump. So we are not done our troubles after that little skip. So, I missed it, dang it. Gonna have to try again. So we're going to get another ledge storage. Okay, well this is rough. Let's try that again. Gonna go a bit slower. So do a ledge climb here, go through here. Some careful maneuvering around these lasers. We're going to wait for the cycle here because we'd have to wait for a cycle anyways if we didn't. It makes things a bit easier. One more ledge storage and here. So we're going to set up another glitch here, which I'll let somebody else explain while I set it up.
Yes. So what we're about to do is called low grav, and the idea behind it is that it is kind of a miracle that it happens. It's a very specific combination of these 3 elements, that being the laser, the grapple point, and the wall. So when you grapple into the laser, you, instead of being put into the normal state when you hit the laser, you are put into the, instead of being put into the hurt state when you touch the laser, you're put into the normal state. But you still have the respawn timer. When you're in the normal state and you touch the wall while holding up, the game puts you in a state where you're climbing the wall, so it's applying an upwards velocity. but then you respawn, so you're off the wall, but the game is still applying the upwards velocity, which is what causes our like floating shenanigans that you saw back there.
Yeah, so that's the only place in the game where that exists, and it's great because it's an area that would be really rough if we didn't have that glitch. So one thing I'll point out is I stopped at the node there to unlock some skills. So I unlocked the key boost skill, which gives us an extra charge here. That's going to let us stock up 2 charges without needing to parry an enemy, which is going to be really helpful for movement in some areas. And also is going to be a damage increase because we can detonate both of them at once. Quick rope storage skip here. The fastest way to climb ropes like that is just to hop over and repeatedly re-grab the rope. Looks pretty funny. Yeah, and the other skill I bought was Skull Kick. So you saw me use that earlier. Skull Kick, it's a downward slash, which is going to give us height whenever we hit an enemy with it. That's very useful in a run where we can't get double jump, and the run is just full of ledges that are too high for us. I guess I'll pass it over. We're going to set up one more ledge storage here and move on to the next area, and I'll let one of my commentators explain this next skip.
Yep. So after the ledge storage here, we're gonna do what's called West Grotto skip, or simply West Grotto, which is a combination of 2 of like the more useful techs during the run, which is rope storage, which has already been explained, and something that has to do with Yi's safe ground position. So you'll see here that he goes to the other side and sets his safe ground there while also dealing with the enemies that could impact the skip. And then, sorry, I won't be able to time this correctly, but as he goes back over, he will set up so he doesn't reset his safe ground by using the falling or crumbling blocks and the and not landing on the platform. Then he climbs back up, which doesn't reset your safe ground, and gets the rope storage, and then he uses the old set safe ground to teleport back to the other side.
Yeah,
and
so
this also gets
right
used
through the
in
wall
next
there.
skip.
That skips so much. It skips an entire room to the right. It skips a really long cutscene. Oh boy, okay. So I need to bait this enemy to the left to skull kick him. He doesn't always cooperate. Hopefully we can get him to... There we go, that looks good. And we're up.
Nice.
And just
Make sure to grab the node.
Yes.
as a testament to like how much this strat actually skips, this has basically been the longest used rope storage skip that's still actually in any percent, because this boss is required like 100% as far as we know, and his entire area is like a puzzle area otherwise.
Yeah, this rope storage specifically skips an entire area puzzle that most speedrunners have completely forgotten the solution to, because we just do the skip in every single glitch category.
Yeah,
I
so
can confirm
coming up,
this.
this is G. This is the first boss we're going to fight. This would normally be the 6th major boss you would fight in the game. So to say we're going to be under-leveled and under-geared is a bit of an understatement. So I'm going to be quiet and focused for this part, and let my commentators do the talking.
Yes, so I will point out that what Waffle said in chat is correct. The reason that we had to do that whole thing for resetting the safe ground is because if we were to touch the ropes in the area there, then it would have lost the rope storage. So by doing that, he's able to completely skip dealing with those. In other runs, we try to go under those ropes, but you just don't have the abilities here.
Yeah. So coming up is G, and in this fight we will see a lot of the kind of air combat tech in the run. So we'll be seeing a lot of skull kick weaving, which is what you see there, where you can all of your air attacks have like a cooldown between them, so you can't do them at like however fast you press the button. But if you do a skull kick you can squeeze a skull kick inside of that cooldown between slashes. That basically just lets you get a extra hit on your air combo in the same amount of time, so it's incredibly useful for this fight, given that G is almost always in the air. And to also see him using talismans to refresh his air combo mid cycle.
Yeah, and because of like all the daggers, this is mostly just a DPS race, and I guess not race, but trying to go as fast as possible. Because have talisman up a lot of the time, but this is also the highest health bar in the game, even more than the final boss. At least the phase 2 is.
Yeah, specifically the phase 2 is the highest single health total in the game. I believe it is. I have it written down somewhere exactly how much it is. But yeah, it is 7,840, and the final boss in phase 2 is 7,500, which is quite funny because this is just the penultimate boss.
It does fit story-wise, though.
Yeah, somewhat. And also his first phase has about half the HP of second phase, so we'll be here for much longer. Yeah, so during that black hole attack, you saw pretty well the things that air refreshes and Skull Kick Weaves can do for your air combo game.
Yeah, maybe because it's at the end of the cycle and they're focusing on the final boss, but this boss also has a lot of like glitches, especially like on older versions. Which,
yeah.
Sherplung, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so there's a tech on this fight in categories that do get the progression ability, specifically All Souls and Seals, which is self-explanatory as a category, where you can do a special super parry on his horizontal Crimson attack, which allows you to get four talismans off on a single attack, which is significantly more than you otherwise would, along with the extra internal damage from the parry. Oh yeah, also, we haven't explained what internal damage is. That's probably pretty important.
Yeah, so essentially if you do an imperfect parry, then you'll get dealt internal damage, which will heal over time if you don't take any other damage, but becomes real damage if you get hit with it. The enemies also can get internal damage through you doing the super parry that Sherplung talked about with a progression ability, but since we don't have that, it can also be applied via talismans, and then their internal damage becomes real damage when you talisman them. And Tai Chi Kick, yes. Or Skull Kick.
Yeah, well, Skull Kick assuming that you parry something like you would a Tai Chi Kick, because it's basically a replacement for the Tai Chi Kick that you can use if you feel like pressing the X button instead of the parry button. I think Butterfly Lady is the best boss. It is. I do think that she's definitely my second favorite.
We skip her though.
Yeah, we don't fight her. She gets to live quotation marks.
I mean, because going to her would literally be like the longest thing in the game. She's the requirement for double jump.
Yeah, pretty explicitly.
Yeah, and his daggers also just function weirdly. We've had some issues with that across the history of the game. Do you want to explain the cutscene skip now? Because we're getting close.
So upcoming is a cutscene skip where after he dies, there's a big long cutscene.
It's very inconsistent. It's tough to hit. Yeah.
This guy's incredibly inconsistent, but
yeah, it's basically just like a frame perfect pause, and if you hit it at just as the cutscene would normally hit, you can pause. The save will still trigger, and so you can quit back to main menu. But yeah, I did not hit it here. You never really expect to hit it. You're more just happy when you do get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
so I came very close to dying here, but it worked out. So yeah, we're gonna grab G's seal right now, which isn't really necessary for anything, but we're locked in until we grab it, so we've got no choice. This is about a minute-long sequence where we just walk through so we can maybe talk about what's coming up next. So we just picked up I haven't picked it up yet, but we're about to pick up one of the two items we need that are locking our access to the final area of this game. So that being G's hair, which he just dropped from his body, and I'll pick up on the way out of here. So once we pick that up, we're now going to be on our way to the last of the souls that you would normally fight before the final boss, who has the other half needed for this upgrade. So they're going to be in Empyrean area, which we briefly crossed through on our way here, but we're going to go through a different path to get there now, which is going to help us do another interesting skip.
Yeah. So coming up is what we call minor skip, because we'll normally have to fight the minor, I forget his name, things like Tianshou, right
Tianshou.
before you go to the next area. But that takes a while, so instead we do another safe ground rope storage skip, which this one, as you'll see as he goes into the next area, he'll set a safe ground right on like a drop throughable platform, and then we have to do that entire next platforming section without setting our safe ground. And the reason that's possible is because Yi doesn't set his safe ground when he lands in a corner, for whatever reason. On top of not doing it when he climbs up ropes, or obviously lands on unsafe ground. So what we do here is a combination of skull kicks, air movement, and landing in corners to not set our safe ground. And eventually we'll get down to a rope, trigger rope storage, and then void out, back up, and use that rope storage to get to the next area.
Yeah. It's generally considered one of the tougher skips in the run because it takes a very long time to get used to all the movement with the corner jumps and predicting the attack of this enemy at the end, where you have to do two different things depending on what that enemy does, because he can either do the big slash where you need to not press anything until you drop down and then just neutral jump into the pit, or you can do the small triple combo where you need to dash into the pit without landing on the platform.
Oh,
Yes.
do I have health left, or am I going to die right now?
I think you got it.
My health looked
No.
really... No, that's sad. Yeah, so fortunately, I reopened the gate for safety so that I'm not going to have to redo the minor skip. But yeah, we have that somewhat precise skip right at the end where we have to skip deactivating this waterfall, which you would normally do when fighting the boss. You have to interact with the elevator just as you dash through to it. And I need to get 2 parries here. Yeah, unfortunately it took just a bit too much damage on the way here. And didn't get it quick enough, so... We're gonna try that
luckily
again. There we
it's
go, first try.
relatively savable as long as you open the door, otherwise you just have to redo the entire skip.
Yeah, if you have to redo minor skip, it's really rough to do that. But yeah,
Well,
definitely taking the safety strats we can.
Yeah, Waffle and Chat is a good point where where I have never seen you die and still get the animation of walking to the door.
Yeah, that's the first time I had it. I wasn't sure what would happen.
It always happens for the first time on Hotfix, I suppose. So
we got another... Yeah, exactly. We got another major skip coming up here, which I will let one of my commentators explain why we do it, which is going to be using the new wall slide tech.
Yeah, this wall slide tech was discovered like 2 weeks ago-ish. And it is some more shenanigans with ledge storage. So the way that it works normally, so you can see him he was kiting an enemy over, but he sadly failed that part of the skip. So this involves jumping next to the wall, slashing, holding back into the wall during the slash, and then basically as you exit the slash, the game kind of checks if you have a wall behind you, and if you have a wall behind you, it will trigger like ledge climb states, or like being grabbed onto a ledge.
And this requires having ledge storage, which I picked up right at the start of this room earlier.
Yeah. So if you have the ledge stored, then the game will think, oh, you're next to a wall, you must be grabbing onto a ledge. So it makes you grab onto the ledge, and so you stop dropping. But since you use the slash, you can get into that state with upwards velocity, and if you do, then you can just slide up the wall forever until you reach a stopping point in the wall.
Funny
and
skip
also another
there. Yeah. We just climbed a rope very high so that we would be able to reach this platform that's quite far away. So climbed up for about 6 seconds there, which gives me enough height. So we're through this room.
Yeah,
I'm
also
gonna
open
open
the
this
door.
door. Yeah.
So what he just passed on his way down here, that was normally one of the soul sanctums that you'd have to go to get a seal, but you can kind of just skip that since he went over it anyway.
Yeah, normally
So,
that seal
yeah.
would just be unguarded and you kind of walk in, pick it up, because it would be guarded by one of the fangs who are both souls. They're twins, but they're both actually guarding the last one together. So long cutscene coming up. I opened up that door there because we got another skip coming up, which usually is pretty safe, but if I miss it, I'm going to have to redo that entire wall slide, long road storage skip. But by opening that door, we're going to be able to come right back in here if I miss that skip. So coming up is going to be another wall slide. This one set up a little bit differently, where instead of just doing the kind of moonwalk and slash into the wall, I'm going to use an enemy and skull kick them to send myself flying up the wall. And this is actually going to be an arena fight, which normally you'd have to fight something like 7 enemies, which spawn one after the other, and we're instead just going to slide right up to the top, which is going to be funny because the camera is locked during arena fights, so we're going to do a little bit of off-screen movement. But fortunately, it's pretty simple, so...
And this
Not
is
too
why
much
he was
chance
trying to
miss that.
kite the enemy for the other wall slide, but because it's completely RNG based, the ledge stretch wall slide is good backup.
Yeah, the skull kick version is quite a bit faster, which with that long wall would have been helpful to get. But
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we got it.
Very
And
nice.
so we're going to grab the root node here, and as soon as we rest, it's going to give us control back of our camera, which is very helpful, because otherwise doing this would be awful. We're going to pick up a couple skills, get another chi boost here. Kind of a maybe dev-intended skip here. You can just send the nymph up to open this door from behind. So that's going to save us from going through some platforms. And then we're going to go back around. There's actually a cutscene trigger here, but for some reason the trigger is so low you can just kind of jump right over it. And you skip that phone call.
The devs have a thing about making triggers either incredibly short or absurdly tall, but rarely ever putting them to the ceiling.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
triggers you can jump with crazy skips. That one is the only one you can just kind of jump over with nothing special. So we're coming up on our second boss of the game here. So once again, I will focus and let my commentators do the talking.
Yeah, so,
Alright, so this is
yeah.
Fushi. So he's kind of mutated whatever story stuff, and his sister, who doesn't really do anything at first. And so he has a few different attacks, one of which expects us to have a later ability that an ability that we would get by now, but we just don't have. And you can use that to parry the red attacks, but
Yeah, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but yeah, red attacks are just not parryable at all.
Unless they're green.
So we have to dash through them.
Yeah. Well, the set ability is the super parry I described earlier when we were fighting G. But it's called the unbounded counter, but we don't get it in this route, even though it is a very awesome ability, super good skill expression. You should watch a All Souls and Zealous run after this.
True.
Definitely.
Very not biased. We both don't run that category.
Yeah, definitely.
Surely.
Anyways, you see a lot of optimization in like just jump canceling on this guy because he's a big guy with a big hitbox, and big hitboxes. He's kind of infamous for having absurdly disjointed registration on where his attacks actually hit. It can be like above and behind him and above his head, and he'll still hit you within like the adjacent area code.
And technically you can like make him just keep turning around constantly by spacing correctly, but that's slower than using talismans.
Yeah, and also incredibly difficult to do optimally or like consistently as a human.
Yeah. I couldn't tell where we are in the fight because of delay, but
Yeah. So we're getting pretty close to phase 2, and if you've played this game, you'll know that phase 2 is where the fight kind of gets serious, because then his sister Nuwa starts attacking, and it becomes much more difficult because you have a lot of projectiles to keep track of.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you'll... Yeah,
oh, perfect.
yeah, great music.
But
too.
okay, so phase 2.
So yeah, so we're pretty close to starting phase 2. As far as I
We're
can
starting
tell.
it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
starting
we're
right
in
now.
it.
So we'll have a bit of time to so we'll have a bit of time now. So I have a bit of trivia. So I have a list of little trivia facts here that we can read out while this happens. Okay, so the story of the game is loosely based on the Chinese myth of Hao Yi shooting down 9 of the 10 suns so that they would not scorch the earth. This is where Yi gets the name from. Multiple other characters also have mythological equivalents like this. Rui's original Taiwanese name, which is the robot assistant that we met once at the start of the game, directly translates to Robo-Yi. Xuan, who is the child that we talked to also once, is referred to in the game once as Xuan Yuan, which is the name of the Yellow Emperor, the mythological first ruler of China. The Tai Chi kick is not an actual technique in Tai Chi. The developers referred to rope storage internally as the Flying Thunder God technique. In the demo of the game and various beta builds, the talisman was referred to as a Fu charm. Fushi and Nuwa are based on the mythological characters of the same name, who are culture heroes and creation deities responsible for creating humanity, among other things. The lyrics and the theme for this boss, titled Art Passion, come from the Chinese opera piece Muhu Pass. The weapon Fushi
So
yield...
coming up, I'll cut off the
Yeah.
trivia. We've got one little thing coming up, which is potentially a cutscene skip, so hopefully I'll get it. I missed it. Dang it. Yeah, so that one's more consistent than G. Usually you would like to slash and pause immediately, and that would allow you to quit out, similar to G, and then just restart without watching the cutscene. But sadly, I missed it, so we're going to get to watch this cutscene. So maybe we can get more trivia facts while this happens.
Oh yeah, you do get get an excellent reaction image here. Yeah, the weapon Fushi yields is actually a zu, a Chinese string instrument. Nuwa and Ji share a voice actress. Instead of a standard Unity time delta time module for various game functions, Nine Souls uses a custom module named Time RCG Time. This is likely the cause of many of the FPS dependent aspects of the game. We will get to that later.
FPS
The bottles,
is fun.
Yep, very fun. The ball is dropped by G during the fight. Okay.
We've made it through. We're going to be picking up our last seal here. And after this, we're going to be able to get the Tianhuo Serum, which is the other part we need to get this last ability. So the thing that's blocking us and basically prevented us from just ending the game 30 minutes ago is that you've probably seen these pink mutants all over this area. They're currently immortal. We can't do anything to kill them. If we drop their HP bar to 0, they just kind of get staggered for a bit and then come right back. And there's also certain barriers which are guarded by these mutant growths. And so we're going to get an upgrade now, which is going to give us a way to deal with that, and also is therefore going to allow us to get into the lab, which is where this infection all came from. So we're going to quickly pick up the item that's to the left of the seal here, and then we're going to be on our way back to the pavilion to get that upgrade.
Yeah. If you're wondering what just happened with the second phase of that fight,
Yeah, maybe we should address it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Are we even sure why that happens?
Something about his
I don't know.
pathfinding breaks.
Yeah,
Yes, we skip a quick phone call by just quitting out here rather than walking back to the right. I don't know if it actually saves time, RTA. Actually, it might just save time loadless.
But yeah, essentially, for some reason, going into that door breaks Fushi's AI, and
Yeah.
it also doesn't activate Nua's AI unless we do certain actions, which I think are the same actions that break. No, it's different. Never mind. But there's most actions will trigger Nua's AI, but air slashes or normal ground slashes don't. Completing a triple slash without animation canceling it will though.
Yeah, so that's why I just hopped up and down and did air slashes and skull kicks for the whole time. Otherwise, that phase is, I don't want to say impossible, but extremely rough with our current gear because we need to deal with just attacks flying at us from everywhere. We don't have double jump. We don't have unbounded counter. So it's very fortunate for us that that cheese exists for this particular category. In some other categories with more gear, it's just faster to do the fight normally. But for us, definitely better to do the cheese. Oh yeah, so maybe we should address this. This guy here is Kuafu. Normally he's the first soul you would meet. We never met him, but fortunately he just shows up for this one cutscene just to give us this upgrade, and he's going to disappear immediately after. And it's really good for us that he just shows up and isn't actually required for this, because otherwise that would add a lot of stuff to actually do in the run.
If you skip the nymph, as we said at the start of the run, then this cutscene plays out completely in the dark, and it is extra funny because Koafu is both not there, and everything is basically pitch black in the pavilion.
Yeah, so we're going to do a quick pit stop here before going back to the last area. This jump is stupidly precise for no reason. It's just a little bit out of reach, but doing this air slash actually gives us just a tiny amount of height so that we can reach that rope. So we're going to go right here and deal with this mutant growth that we walked past earlier, which we couldn't deal with. It might be worth mentioning that our new ability only lets us kill them with the talisman, so we're going to have to try to use talismans to take out those mutants whenever we can. So the item we picked up here is the Twin Tau Fruit, which gives us a 3% damage boost like the other Tau Fruits, but also gives us 4 skill points, which is way more than any other in the game. So really mostly a safety strat. It doesn't really save that much time in terms of actual damage output, but it's going to just help us not die, so that's a win in my book. So quickly, we're going to pick up this item here, which is the elevator access token, which is something we can use in the elevator right next to it to access the restricted level. And so this
amazing
is going to bring us to the lab.
Placement.
Yeah, it makes a little bit of sense because you can access some of the other elevator levels very early in the game. But in this case, yeah, the token is just right next to the elevator that you need it for. So this area is going to be swarming with mutants. We're going to have to try to take out some of these growths. Hopefully he leaves me alone. Okay, he hit me, but he let me explode the mutant, which is what I needed. So I'm going to blow up another one here. Get another talisman. And then here in this area, we have 3 mutants to take out to drop this, I don't know what it is, elevator to destroy the floor beneath it.
It's an elevator.
Yeah, we're going to do a bit of a skip here to get to the other 2. Oh, he's really high right now. Yeah, that's too high. Okay, please be nice. Okay, that looks good. Oh, come on. Oh, I could have done it. I didn't realize because I parried. It gave me an air refresh, but I realized too late. Okay, so I'm going to take out this green guy here. Oh boy, okay, this is a bit out of control. I might be in trouble right now. I'm going to have to slowly kill these enemies. Oh, okay, well, usually you're able to take out the green guy before they all swarm you. We're going to have to run through that area real quick again. Fortunately, I won't have to destroy the mutants again, so at least it's going to be a little bit faster than last time.
Yeah, these enemies are absolutely brutal when you have low damage because they swarm and you need to have a talisman to take them out.
Yeah, and because they have contact damage on them, it's also just extremely hard to get in a talisman without getting hit.
Yep. On other runs, we use, I think Sherplung's gonna explain this, we use water flow, which is a talisman style, which allows us to just apply the talisman and then it'll blow up after a cooldown. But it's too far in the skill tree, I believe.
Yeah, it's just costs way more than we could ever get in this route. We're gonna do this again. Okay, I don't actually know the setup here when he's not chasing us after the mutant, but hopefully I can kind of kite him back around here. Nah, that's no good. This might take a second. He's very finicky if you don't get him at just the right moment.
It's kind of crazy how for an item at the top of this room, the game requires you to figure out the fact that parrying refreshes your double jump on one of these guys, which is a massive pain for a first-time player.
It's still a pain for
Guy's
us.
gonna hit me. That's brutal.
Yeah, still a pain for us. And the only place where they tell you that is in the loading screen tips. Which this game loads pretty fast, yeah. This game loads pretty fast, so it is difficult to read the loading screen tips or more than one at once.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I got hit with some pretty rough RNG there because that's not usually a choke point for this run. Doing the skull kick skip to get up there is a choke point, but usually you're able to just very quickly detonate the green guy and set up the rest of the skip. But in this case, just the enemy placements were just a little bit unfortunate. And I didn't quite react properly. So let's go one more try. Hopefully that should be it. Fortunately, this doesn't lose much time every time I do this.
I mean, we're just talking about this. RNG enemies at the end of run kind of sucks.
Why is he not aggroing on me right now? Okay.
Yeah. The run before us,
the
run before us definitely got hit with a lot of that.
There we go. That's what that should normally look like, and then we can just get a parry against him. And once this enemy respawns, skull kick, talisman, and we're through. I'll just need to quickly parry this guy. Alright, and we're through that section. A little bit rough, but we made it, and now we can just quickly get this third one here. And so after dropping this, we're going to be approaching the point of no return for this game, which is basically in a second. We're going to reach the point where you have to complete everything, and we're going to trigger the end of the scene, the ending sequence of the game, after which we just can't go back to anywhere we previously were. So there's going to be a few skips before that, so I'm going to grab a node here for safety, and also buy some of the skills that we took the Tau Fruit for. So we'll open up the skills menu here. So we're going to pick up Backlash, which is going to increase our Skull Kick and Tai Chi Kick damage. That's going to be very helpful for the final boss. And then the other skill I picked up there is Breathing Exercise, which is mostly a safety strat. It's going to allow us to recover internal damage every single time we parry, or perfect parry to be more precise, which really helps for some of these fights coming up and the final boss. Basically means that we can do internal parries as much as we want, and we'll just get that health right back from doing normal parries. Because otherwise you can get into awkward situations where your internal damage just gets maxed out and then you'll just instantly die to fire or something like that. Alright, so we're going to set up another skip here. This is a new use of ledge storage. We're going to try to get a wall cling. Ooh, okay. Yeah, there we go. And jump right off. As we call that a spider leap. So we're going to do another one just in a second to get through another awkward wall. Alright, and we are now at the point of no return of the game. So this is Aigong's Soulscape. She's not going to just let us get the Soul Seal, it turns out. So actually, at this point, normally, you would have all the Soul Seals if you hadn't done any kind of speedrun skips. And fortunately for us, this sequence doesn't at all check that you have them, because we're going to walk up here, Aigong is going to stop us, and she's going to steal all 8 of the seals from us, even though we only have 2 of them.
Guess the others just magically appear or something.
Yeah, exactly. The game just assumes that if you're here, you must have them all, which is really good for us, because otherwise it would be an extra 40 to 50 minutes of run, basically. Maybe less.
40 to 50-ish is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is
just all souls and seals.
Yeah, we have a separate category that does that. But yeah, so this is by far the longest cutscene in the game. It's about like 5 minutes of just text scrolling and just watching cutscene. So we'll probably take the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's coming up. So Aigong is going to trap us in here, and she's going to go attack the pavilion and then try to take control of the, what's it called, New Kunlun control hub, which is the key to her evil plans, I guess. And so we're going to have to bust back out of here and go back to Pavilion to help out Chuan Chuan, who's been attacked, and also go fight her at the New Kunlun control hub. So at this point, fast travel is going to be disabled, so we're just going to have to backtrack our way fully out of here. This one next room is going to be especially rough. After that, it's kind of just smooth sailing. But we're going to have to fight several arenas full of enemies, one of which is probably the most notorious fight in this game, where we're going to be trapped in a hallway with enemies spawning non-stop, with no way out until just the end of the time expires. It's also interesting because in theory it would be optimal if we could just grab a ledge storage just before entering this cutscene and then carry it through for the entirety of that cutscene. But that's actually extremely difficult because anytime you get hit, anytime you slash without doing an animation cancel, or anytime you do a parry without getting an animation cancel, you lose ledge storage. But we do need a ledge storage after that fight just to get over a ledge that's just slightly too tall for us to jump. So some categories are able to do this. For example, the story mode category that's allowed to just set damage sliders to max can just do that hallway with like single slashes at a time and just insta-kill the enemies. True Ending is also able to do that just because they have a lot more gear. But because we aren't going to be able to do that, we're just going to have to survive the fight as much as we can, which is already hard enough with our current gear. And then we're going to have to do another skip to get up to a place where we can get a ledge, because of course there couldn't just be a convenient located one for this section. So that whole skip also has a lot of history. For a long time it was thought to only be possible with 50 FPS, so we used to actually run this game at 50 FPS with the frame limit, but we eventually found a new setup, so that's no longer necessary, thank God.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this game that's dependent on like frame rate, which I don't know how much we're going into, but it's been a thing throughout the history. Alright, yeah, so I think we banned 50 now, right?
Yes, 50 FPS is now fully banned.
Finally, good riddance.
Yeah, so essentially, like, FPS in this game determines a lot of things for the aforementioned reason of RCG using their own version of Delta Time.
Yeah, so most of the physics are just totally different at high or lower FPSs. But so I'm playing capped, which is why... Oh, I guess you see that 60 up in the corner, probably.
Yeah.
I probably should have turned that off, but that's okay. So yeah, cap, it helps us for a lot of skips. It gives us slightly higher jumps, which in some cases is relevant. But yeah, so we're finally freed from that cutscene. We're going to talk to Xuan Xuan one last time here, and then we're on to the hallway fight. Yeah, this is also going to be a focus moment for me, so I'm going to let the commentators talk. Oh, that was unlucky. Wow. Usually you're able to just kind of get through there, but fortunately that is basically no time loss, because I can just go right again. Yeah, I got
It'd be a lot worse.
There. Yeah, I'd rather die there than in the fight. Yeah, see, that's how that usually goes.
But yeah, hallway, as he talked about, we can't reasonably do hitless hallway in this category because it's hard. But yeah, I think it's been done on restricted rule set once, right?
It's been done with the bow.
Yes, with the bow. I think it has literally never been done once with the gear that we have now. So yeah, as Zomboy in chat said, this hallway is very directly an Old Boy reference to the movie Old Boy. If you've ever watched it, you probably know exactly what scene it's referencing. But if you're noticing something strange here, which is the lack of HUD, that is not a bug. The game just turns off your HUD for this section
Very
because it
annoying.
looks cool. It's very annoying. It does look cool, but I'd very much prefer for probably the hardest enemy encounter in the game to have HUD. So Sun Tzu is trying very hard to keep track in his head, like how many key charges he has, how much health he has, if he has a ton of internal damage. Luckily, the screen border effect that shows up when you have low health, like if you have full internal damage, that still appears even without the HUD. So that can give him a pretty good idea of when he's like about to die. But generally, this whole section is just a massive test of like memorizing when enemies come out and learning how to deal with them. So
Yep.
yeah. The green exploding enemies are a massive asset to him in this section because when they explode, they kill every single enemy in around them, which is basically the whole screen in this scenario. So it's incredibly important to time out when those guys explode very well, because the especially the small mutants, which we refer to as Hubert. Long story why we refer to them as Hubert, but they're just all Hubert.
There
Yeah.
are two Huberts. There's the singular Hubert, and then we refer to all of them as Hubert as well.
Yeah, there's
Again,
the
whole
Hubert.
story.
Yeah, there's Hubert and then Hubert the Collective. And they have both a very, very long lunging attack and also a projectile attack that is incredibly oppressive and will, like, feels like a heat-seeking missile most of the time, because it.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a quick death ward
Yeah.
here. That was intentional. Don't worry. We just need to reach the end of the hallway and have that gate open, fortunately, and that's gonna save our progress. So now we're gonna try to get ledge storage and go back through it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't quite get the setup I wanted. It's possible to just get it with all these enemies on the screen. It's a lot easier to just kite these enemies over. Fortunately, the one that we need is too tall, and so we can just bait over the ones that would get in the way. Over to this section, and now those guys won't get in our way. So we're gonna have a very precise setup here to try to get up. I'm gonna have to parry. No. Yeah, that really, I thought that was good. So yeah, super precise. You have to parry and get a skull kick at just the right time.
Yeah, this skip in particular is the singular reason why we thought we needed 50 FPS for this. Because on 50 FPS you jump a whole 3 units higher compared to compared to 60 FPS. We thought that was absolutely necessary for the skip, and that is the whole reason why we allowed using 50 FPS in the first place. Well, that was until we realized that you just don't need it. But it's just still very difficult.
Oh boy, I thought that was good. But yeah, you need basically every input to be just at the right moment to get the maximum height out of your parry, your talisman, your skull kick. This is rougher than usual, but we got all the time in the world.
Yeah, this is probably this and the hallway fight is probably
okay, I got it. There we go.
Barrier.
So we're gonna dash across here. So we have our ledge storage finally. So something we haven't mentioned now is that in this next section, you're gonna get a save, and it's gonna save you in a spot where you can't get ledge storage. So if I die, it's just fully a soft lock, and it's impossible to finish the game. Fortunately, I do have a backup save if that happens, but hopefully we won't see that. Well, I almost died. That was something for sure. I had about 1 HP there. All right, and we're through the soft lock section of the game. I might just take an intentional death here to get my HP back, because we'll respawn right here. And now we have one last arena fight before we're out of this hellhole of an area. So I'm probably also going to focus on this one. This one, not nearly as rough as the hallway, but the enemies are kind of scary. They can surprise you. So yeah, I'll let my commentators talk over this.
Yeah, so this arena is what we kind of usually refer to as Arena 3 because it's the third arena in this area. On runs that get double jump, you can do a tech that we call ledge storage triple jump, which is kind of what it sounds like. You double jump, use the ledge storage, and then triple jump and then jump again because the ledge storage refreshes your double jump, and that allows you to completely jump over the trigger to this arena.
Yeah, because this is one of the RCG way too low triggers. It's also really small because they didn't expect you to go over it, so it's a pretty easy skip if you are able to get double jump in the run.
Yeah. But since you don't, you have to. But since we don't in any percent, we have to fight this. Where this warden enemy is very problematic. And
yeah,
also
I guess we didn't address it at all, but there was supposed to be a second arena between the hallway and what we just did, but I just jumped over it. That was a trigger. You can just get up to that platform with a skull kick and just jump over the trigger and you fully skip the arena. So, all right, so we're now out of here, at which point it's going to be smooth sailing until the final boss, pretty much. We can just kind of walk through this area, ignoring all the enemies. We have to be a little bit careful just because they've got a bunch of spikes on them, but we're never really going to die here. Worst case, we just take some damage and have to heal right before the final boss. But yeah, so we're going to be backtracking our way back to the pavilion here. We're going to hop into these boxes, which are going to send us all the way back to the area where we initially got Tai Chi Kick at the start of the run, at which point we're just about a minute away from reaching the final boss of this game.
And for whatever reason, we notably don't have to go back to the pavilion and actually save Shinjin.
Oh yeah, so he calls us, telling us about how the pavilion's been attacked, and everything's bad. But we're not getting the true ending right now. We don't care about Chuan Chuan. We're just gonna go fight the final boss.
He's a strong boy. He'll be fine.
He's okay.
Exactly. In the actual game, he is okay. I promise.
Yeah. He is okay.
Yeah, he's fine, but we're just not going to get the good ending by not going to talk to him. Plus, we haven't done any of the other requirements for true ending, so...
Yeah. The true ending run is also very cool, and it's insane that people run this game for that many hours at a time.
Yeah, it has some insanely cool skips, but it does have a lot of text, just because you have to talk to Chuan Chuan a lot to get the true ending.
Yeah. A lot of the categories that are not any percent, like for example, All Souls and Seals, I think we did a calculation on this. Load remove time, All Souls and Seals is 25% dialogue, and that is not an exaggeration. It is.
It's painful.
Yeah, it's painful, especially because for all that dialogue, you have to be holding down the button. You can't just set down the controller and take a breather.
Yeah, most cutscenes at least. Some of them give you a little break.
Yeah.
But, alright, we're gonna grab this node here. I'm actually full health, so I don't really need it, but if I die, that way I'll respawn here. And we are off to the final boss.
Yeah. Arcland, it is a lot of dialogue. I did a count using the translation spreadsheet that they made public, which is super awesome. The word count of this game is over 70,000, which is a lot of words.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. I think Yi himself has over 500 lines.
Schwan, the dialogue attributed to Xuan Xuan, which is basically conversations involving Xuan Xuan is 940 text boxes. Just conversations attributed to Xuan Xuan. So yeah, coming up is the final boss, which is again another focus moment. Big grandiose cutscene before it. Very awesome fight, very awesome music. Anybody that has played this game will sing praises of the Agong fights, because for a lot of us, it's a massive part of the reason why we run the game at all. So
Yeah. Like, I started running because of this fight, almost exclusively.
Yeah. So this fight, normally you're supposed to have the super parry, which is, well, the unbounded counter. But we don't have that, so when she does the big Crimson Ball attack, we kind of have to just run behind her or away from her so we outrange it. Because she does track with it slightly. Actually, not slightly, she just tracks with it for a significant distance, but if you run far enough away, then we can avoid it.
Killed so many level 0 attempts.
Yeah. Speaking of
Yeah,
level
should we
0,
talk about that?
Yeah, I suppose we have time. So level 0 is a kind of popular boss challenge. It's kind of it's like the hard individual challenge for this game, where I think the total number of completions is 20.
Yes, it is 20 currently.
Yeah, where basically we use a modified save file to beat the final boss with the true ending variation, which we are not seeing today. We use a modified save file to use only the abilities that we start the game with. So basically, it would be kind of like this fight, but we wouldn't have air dash. We would only have one talisman charge. No
skull kick
bosses.
No skull kick, no Tai Chi kick. It's very hard.
Most people's first attempts take like 20-ish minutes.
Yeah.
Because you have incredibly low damage.
It's a fun challenge. It's also very cool to see this fight with Unbound Encounter, because I believe every other non-80% category gets both Unbound Encounter and the Divine Hand Jade, which allows you to chain Unbound Encounters, and it's very flashy instead of kind of dragging on like this fight tends to because of only having sword.
Yeah. Again, if you have the time, watch a run of a different category, probably All Souls and Seals. It has a lot of very fun strats with Unbound Counter and many more skips that you don't even see in this run because well, we skip half the game, so there's a lot of very fun stuff that you don't see here. So yeah, you can see that in this fight he is kind of just working to get off as many talismans as possible, because Aegon gives you a lot of key charges, so you have plenty of opportunities to get talismans. Well, you have plenty of talismans to get off, but finding opportunities is very difficult. So you can see some of those strats like jumping through the downward slash and then talismaning and then doing a talisman away from her. They just squeeze in as many as possible to maximize DPS, because as I said during the G fight, she has 7500 HP, which is the second highest total in the game, and she is significantly more evasive. She's significantly more evasive than G, so you have to really put the pressure on her with
I've
splashes.
seen many more mess ups, so compared to how long this fight is, actually relatively clean, especially since taking the fire. And he, at least I assume, is purposely getting lower, because even though it doesn't actually matter since we call time at the end of this fight, you can skip the dialogue after the fight by dying in the fire while she's dead.
But we probably will not be seeing that, because I don't think we're going for it.
Yeah, that was down to the wire, but we made it.
So
Yeah.
Took a lot of fire damage. That's the scary thing with the fire, is you just kind of get hit by it throughout the fight, and it just slowly chips your HP. So that's time. Sorry if we didn't call it.
GG.
Very nice.
Thank you. Do we have the time on the run?
It's looking about plus or minus 113.30.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'll
Yeah,
take
that's-
that for sure.
That's
good.
not bad. I
Oof.
wonder what the load remove time would have been. Besides air dash pretty much and dying once after minor skip, that was a very clean run.
Gonna
Yeah,
be the
I'm happy
second
with
time
that.
today
No
where
boss deaths. That's kind of was my #1 goal. No death to hallway.
Is this the second time today you're gonna like get world record on an unsubmittable run?
No, this shouldn't be world
Oh,
record.
yeah.
But yeah, I did get an unsubmittable world record in practice earlier today, so. Yeah, so I guess should we do our sign-offs?
Yeah, give us take a little time, give us any shout outs, tell the good people where they can find you, if that's Twitch, YouTube, Discord, wherever. Take a couple minutes, celebrate the run, let everybody know about yourselves.
Yeah, so I'm Sun-Tzu. So you can find me on YouTube. That's pretty much it. You'll probably have to search Sun-Tzu 9 Souls because otherwise you will not find me. Yeah, I mean, shout outs to the 9 Souls Speedrun Discord. This run is just the result of a lot of people working together to figure out all these crazy skips and just working on boss strats and everything. If you're interested in running this game, definitely just stop by. There's always people there ready to answer questions and help newcomers. Anything for my commentators you want to shout out? Where can people find you?
I mean, I agree with what he said. I guess I joked about talking about this, but I, along with some other people, including sherplung here, run event stuff. I don't really know the best place to find a link for that though.
Ask
but
in
you'll
the
probably see
speedrun
it around.
Discord.
Ask in the speedrun Discord, and I think we're announcing an event in the game's main Discord in like 2 days.
Yeah, 2-ish
So,
days. Also,
yeah.
Lirkz streams on Twitch. You should follow Lirkz.
Yeah, except
will-
I play this game like half the time.
Yeah. Well, you still play this game sometimes, and you still stream on Twitch.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. So
You want to talk about collab or?
no, I don't think we need to discuss. I don't think we need to mention that here. Anyways, yeah, Dorn is right. Play level 0. We only have 20 completions. Maybe we can top 25. Who knows? So yeah, I am on YouTube. I suppose I have basically only posted runs on YouTube, and when I used to do runs, I did stream them on Twitch. So, but the last time was like 6 months ago, so might be a while until I start doing runs again. But yeah,
Well,
you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah.
Thank you all three for joining us. That was an amazing run. Super fun to watch. I've been looking forward to this for a while. If anyone doesn't know, 9 Souls is kind of a big ticket item in the indie Metroidvania community right now. Super excited that we got to see this. But don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after a few minutes with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's going to be a short glitch-filled run. I'm super excited for it. So stick around. We'll be back. And we got another one coming up.
Thanks for having us. It's been a blast.